Initiation marks the official beginning of Justice League Unlimited, continuing directly where the previous Justice League cartoon left off. Now, for those who might not remember, that show had 7 main heroes and ended with the Justice League's orbiting space station, the Watchtower, being destroyed. As this episode begins, we see Green Arrow stopping a grocery store robbery and then running into Green Lantern. Apparently, the Justice League has been trying to recruit Arrow for a while now, but he never gave them an answer, though it seems pretty clear that this was his answer. He starts arguing about it and then gets transported to the new Watchtower, a significantly larger space station with its own support staff, new technology taken right out of Star Trek, and a considerably larger group of heroes hanging around. Superman gives everyone a speech about why this is necessary, explaining that threats against the Earth are getting larger, and so the heroes need to be more coordinated to deal with it properly. Now, Green Arrow still doesn't look convinced, but then he gets joined by Batman. Fitting, since Bruce Wayne and Oliver Queen are both billionaire heads of their own companies who decided to take up costume crime fighting. Oliver believes that while the Justice League is busy fighting off alien invasions, they tend to forget about the smaller incidents like the robbery that he stopped earlier. But Bruce points out that big problems have a way of affecting everyone. Plus, Oliver's perspective could be healthy for the group. Just then, an emergency comes up. A nuclear signal has been detected in Chiang Mai, a nation somewhere in between China and North Korea. The signal's large enough to be an explosion, but too concentrated to be a random accident. We find out that Chiang Mai is incredibly xenophobic, and Americans are absolutely forbidden from going there. So, who does Martian Manhunter send on this mission? Green Lantern, who is in the Marines, Captain Atom from the Air Force, Supergirl, who lives in Kansas and takes after her cousin, Mr. Truth, Justice, and the American Way, and Green Arrow tags along too because he's the main character this episode. So, with their oddly 3D looking ship, Team America World Police touches down and, surprise, the local military isn't too happy to see them. Thankfully, they meet a general who recognizes the Justice League as an international organization, and he then politely tells them to fuck off. Jean tells them they have to respect the government's wishes, no matter how obvious it is that they're trying to hide something, but Green Arrow sneaks off and finds the source of the radiation. A giant robot. Of course. The rest of the team catches up, but Green Lantern gets badly injured. They find out the robot was built to protect the country from invading forces, but it went out of control and started attacking its own people. And the only way to stop it is to insert a series of carbon dampening rods into its reactor. Or Supergirl and Captain Atom could chuck it into the sun, but what do I know? Oh, that's right. We need to make this about Green Arrow somehow. So Captain Atom gets his suit ripped open and explodes. Don't worry, he gets better. And Supergirl, honestly, I think the episode just forgets that she's there half the time. Thankfully, the robot has a conveniently placed Death Star opening on its chest, so it all comes down to Green Arrow using his bow to fire these long, thin rods at a small target far away. Brilliant! Oh, and did I mention that even though the people who built the robot gave them 8 full-sized carbon rods to begin with, apparently you can just strap a tiny piece of one to an arrow and that gets the job done too. Even more brilliant! Back at the Watchtower, Oliver finishes cleaning up after the mission and runs into Batman again. He says that he still has no intention of joining, but then the two of them look over and see Black Canary changing into her uniform. Yes, it's a co-ed locker room. And I apologize for not being able to find an adequate picture, but try to imagine this. While the showers at least have doors on them, the actual changing area just has a wide open space leading out into the rest of the station. That is just so very exploitable. And so the episode ends with Batman and Green Arrow giving each other a mental bro fist and Batman saying, "Yeah, I'll see you next week." Oh boy, where do I begin with this? The episode actually starts off really strong by showing us what's changed and explaining why the focus of the group, and therefore the format of the show, is going to be different. I really like the dynamic from all the different characters interacting. Supergirl especially brings a lot of personality as a sarcastic but playful teenager who also clearly is trying to be a team player, and watching her play off of Captain Atom is a lot of fun. I also thought focusing the episode on an outsider like Green Arrow, who doesn't want to be on the team but still chooses to go along with the mission and tries to help people because it's what he would do naturally anyway, is a great idea. But then when the actual threat is revealed, it feels like everything starts to fall apart from that point on. For one thing, the robot is nuclear powered, and they establish that this thing is giving off radiation everywhere. Now look, I know superhero science is pretty loose and requires a lot of suspension of disbelief, but at the risk of sounding like Linkara, that can only go so far. I can trick myself into believing that Captain Atom can survive as a walking mass of living energy. My inner child can imagine a Godzilla-sized robot walking around with its head on fire. Heck, I'll even buy into the idea that radiation interferes with molecular transporters and that's why they need a jet. Oh yeah, speaking of which, of course transporters really work. You just need to properly calibrate the Heisenberg compensators. The reason you can get away with this stuff most of the time is because it either doesn't exist in real life, or the science behind it is obscure enough that you can exaggerate a few things without most people noticing. But you have to be really careful when you start messing around with things that are already common knowledge, like the fact that nuclear radiation is really dangerous. I mean, even The Simpsons has episodes where people get sick and die because of the cartoonishly awful safety standards at Mr. Burns' power plant. Hell, even in this very episode, we see guys in hazmat suits getting sick from radiation poisoning. But for our half-naked heroes taking a full-on blast to the face, they just get a little sweaty. Nothing a quick shower and a band-aid can't fix. Even their plan to shove carbon dampening rods into the reactor after things got out of control, yeah, that actually happened in real life already, at Chernobyl. Maybe you heard how that turned out? Seriously, the fact that they even tried this here was more face-palming than the episode of Star Trek Voyager where they tried to reinforce the ship's hull by using blueprints from the Titanic. So what should be an exciting action scene ends up coming off as a flimsy excuse to make Green Arrow seem useful. And that's before we even get to that ridiculous locker room scene at the end. The entire episode, Green Arrow is presented as someone who is single-mindedly driven by his own personal mission and worldview. So it's really insulting to have someone so heavily opinionated get to this point and basically say, hey, I disagree with your operation, I disagree with your politics, but I'm gonna stay anyway because boobies. And I'm sure someone will point out that Green Arrow's attraction to Black Canary comes up again later, so they had to establish it early. And that's fair enough. I'm just saying that it shouldn't be the only reason for him to join the team after spending the entire episode arguing why he was against the idea, especially since there was already an opportunity for a genuine character arc. At first, he doesn't want to fight giant monsters because he's just a Robin Hood figure helping out the little guy. Then during the mission, he actually sees a giant monster threatening helpless farmers, and he's the one who takes it down. This was the perfect chance for him to make that connection and realize that he does have a place here. And maybe then he also notices Black Canary, but nah, we'll just make him keep being stubborn and then have his dick make the final call for him 2 seconds later. In the end, I give Initiation a 5 out of 10. It has a really strong opening and there are some great production values that still hold up to this day, but the second half of the episode drops the ball in nearly every way possible, leaving the whole thing feeling painfully average.